Today we're here at the Oklahoma City Zoo and Botanical Garden, and joining me is Rebecca Snyder to talk about the pollinator garden. Rebecca, it's grown a lot in the last few years. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yes, well, we of course love this garden. It's one of our favorite gardens here at the zoo because it's full of a variety of flowering plants and attracts a lot of our native pollinators. So it's a special place for sure.
It's early in the season, but I can see you got a lot of flowers already coming on.
Yes.
And the pollinators are finding
it. Yeah, there's a lot of bumblebees in the garden this morning. It's always nice to see.
So I know a lot of times people think pollinator gardeners should be just overwhelming with flowers, but the grass is just as important, right?
Absolutely, yes. The grasses, some of our native grasses actually are host plants for native butterflies, so they're really important for attracting those species. And the grasses are, they're the foundation of the prairie, right? So if we're trying to recreate that kind of habitat, it's really important to have those grasses in there. They provide shelter and they are an important component.
Yeah, so obviously you guys initially seeded and planted this, but has it kind of just allowed it to evolve, right?
Yes.
It finds its own way.
It does find its own way, and we let it do that for the most part. And it's interesting to see how things kind of migrate around in the garden over time. So it's a surprise every year, kind of what it's going to look like, and that's fun.
Yeah, well, you guys have had this as a dedicated space, but it's actually growing, right?
Yes. So yes, this has been a cornerstone of the zoo's, pollinator-friendly plants for many, many years. But for the last 5 or 6 years, at least, we've been really trying to make sure that we have plants that are good for pollinators all over our garden. So it's a zoo and a botanical garden. And as we're putting in new landscape or replacing things, we look for ways that we can incorporate native plants and also just a diversity of flowering plants.
And why is it so important we're doing this? We hear a lot about it, but I think it's always important to reiterate the value of pollinators.
Yes, absolutely. So there's just a lot of people on the planet. We take up a lot of space and a lot of resources. And I feel like wildlife kind of lives in the margins around us. And any time that we can make those margins wider, so whether that be in our own yard, at home, here at the zoo, anywhere we can, it's really important to try to create habitat that is good for our pollinators, because that's also good for us, of course, but also good for birds and all kinds of other native species. So people can actually really, truly create habitat just by planting native plants.
Right. And are you noticing that people are more receptive to seeing bees and things like that around them?
Absolutely. So we talk to people, adults especially, about having them remember what was it like when you were a kid? Did you see more bees and butterflies? And people do realize there's been a change over the last few years, and they are concerned about that. And I've really seen people start to embrace the fact that, okay, a yard really is a dead space, right? There's no real life in it that you can see, versus if you come to a garden like this, there's all kinds of life in it. It's thriving.
Yeah.
And so it's just being comfortable with that versus this very manicured type of garden that we're used to. Education is really important, and we are accomplishing that in a couple of different ways. So one of those ways is we actually have a grant program for schools, K through 12, in the Oklahoma City metro area. And so the zoo provides funding for them to plant a pollinator garden at their school. And we also provide workshops for their teachers then to teach them how to design and install a garden that will be successful in attracting pollinators, and then also how to use that garden to teach a variety of subjects.
Okay. What's the kind of the timeline on that for people to be looking?
So it happens annually. The application is available on the zoo's website in January of each year, and then it's due at the end of April. So we just received our next batch of applications, and we're reviewing those now, and we award 5 or 6 schools every year. So we've established 22 school gardens now. We're doing research in those gardens. So we have a postdoctoral fellow here, Dr. Guest, and she's gone to all of the gardens to survey them for pollinators. And we found that all the gardens do have pollinators in them, so they're working.
Terrific.
So that's exciting. We also have survey work happening here at the zoo to see how the zoo is performing as habitat for pollinators. We had a bee survey done in 2020 and found that there are 60 species of native bees that use the zoo. And we have Dr. Guest is doing a butterfly survey now that she started in the fall, and I think she's counted at over 40 species so far, and that'll continue through the summer. So that just shows that if you do plant a diversity of flowering plants and host plants, you will attract a wide diversity of our native pollinators.
Absolutely. It is definitely working, and it's available for all ages, right?
That's
it's really
right.
neat. So thank you so much
Absolutely.
for sharing this with us.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.